everybody. I'd like to talk today about the project on fostering positive learning behaviours. This has been a project that I've been working on for a number of years, and I'd like to talk about it today in the sense of how it might benefit you, your organisation, your teachers, and predominantly your students in your construction educational settings. So the project came about through research, whereby research has shown that one of the main concerns that our teachers have in institutions, and this could be teachers, trainers and assessors, one of their main concerns, and this is in secondary schools as well as further education, has been the managing of behaviours in the classroom. So the work I've really been doing has been about trauma-informed practice, and the project really supports our educators in how to develop consistent expectations and behaviours in the classrooms, or in your case maybe in the construction workshops, and to look at practical strategies to improve behaviours in the classroom through a range of professional development offers and training, CPD offer, and to develop really an inclusive trauma-informed institution. So in order to improve student behaviours, we need to in turn look at ourselves. So this is a lot of what this project is about our educators becoming self-reflectors, and how in turn, if we understand a student's behaviour, we then will have improved attainment, success rates, engagement, and improved attendance overall in our institutions. So we're looking at the culture of professional behaviours in the classroom or within your workshops, and we're preparing our students in turn for higher education, for apprenticeships in the trades, and then also for working in the construction industries. We are looking at how-tos and how to model best behaviours and develop specific teaching and learning strategies around behavioural management. And a lot of our educators come into further education with a vast array of experience, maybe from industry, and they may be classed as dual professionals. But what I consider in this project is working with those very established teachers, those that are new into education, and that might be NQTs, for example, but also those dual professionals, so those people that are coming in from industry into education as a whole. The project looks around triggers and what might trigger behaviour and why a student might be behaving in a certain way. So we're getting behind that idea of behaviour as a form of communication. So why is an individual behaving in a certain way? And often there's a reason for why they're behaving in that way. So evidence has shown, really by looking at a strong body of national data and academic research that I've undertaken with other individuals within the Derby College Group, and looking at professional literature, that we're really looking at behavioural management strategies, trauma-informed education research, and there's quite a lot out there. We've also done a lot of work around national statistics and educational statistics, let's call it, with mental health and wellbeing data, and looking at professional sort of contexts within the classroom. So all of the work we've done in this project has been very much grounded in research. So why would it be beneficial for you as an organisation and within the CTEC remit would be looking at your student cohorts? And why is it beneficial? Well, there's really 4 routes and 4 reasonings why. So initially we need to understand behaviour as a form of communication and how to work with students to identify underlying needs, past experiences, and their current emotional states. Further to that, what this project also has undertaken is that relational strategy to change and that cultural change. So how to prioritise positive behaviours and positive relationships in the workshops so that we have a sustained behaviour which develops and is consistent over time. So what I've learned from this project is consistency has been key in managing behaviours. How to also be informed of a trauma-informed response. So how do we as educators approach trauma? And trauma can be very small, it can also be very large and can impact hugely on our student cohorts on unmet needs or, for example, shame. So a lot of this work is about relationship building and how our educators have to listen to our students' journey and what we might call value added. So this links to IAG, the initial advice and guidance that we give, and also then what are the students' starting points? What do we know about our students that attend our construction courses, for example, and what is the end result? Where are they going? What are their progression routes? What are their destinations? And overall, the project has looked at a lot of research that the schools have done, as well as further education establishments, and we've looked at the idea of interaction over intervention. So how to work with everyday interactions with our students to shape their behaviour more effectively, really, than having sort of punitive responses and disciplinary actions to what could be called challenging behaviours. So really, overall, everything that we've done with this project has been evidence-based. One of the main aims has, as I've said earlier, is to reduce low-level challenging behaviours in the classroom and in our construction workshops, but really to help our individual students develop key knowledge and skills in order for them to plan an effective future for their lives. So that could be in terms of employment opportunities and those professional skills that they will need in the workplace. So we need to deal with that transition period, understanding, of course, trauma-informed practice alongside, but also that civic partnership and that community partnership also that we should be enhancing and collaborating with consistently. If students are listened to, they're more likely going to participate. If they're listened to by ourselves as educators and they feel that we know them, then they're more likely going to be engaged, and then ultimately that improves attainment. So for this project, if people are interested in getting involved, what we can do is offer you a comprehensive range of CPD opportunities. And I've developed a range of workshops that can be presented face-to-face or remotely, And these fundamentally are based around trauma-informed practice, but the idea around that grounded in the principle of connection rather than correction, and interaction replacing intervention. They're quite hands-on, where we discuss quite openly student case studies, let's say, and teachers might bring forward specific instances of challenges in the classroom. And I found that over time, teachers really want to know, how do I deal with this? How do I progress further with this individual? How do I get that student to actually attend, foremost, be engaged, and then ultimately achieve? And it's all about listening. That's what we've found in terms of that individualised development with teacher and student. Overall, the impact has been gathered, and the understanding of the benefits of laying a strong foundation for trauma-informed practice. We've gathered impact really from observation, and that could be learning walks, also from walkthroughs. We've also developed student forums where students can openly talk about their lives at the college and outside of further education, and also developed some individual case studies where we can follow specific journeys of students from start to finish. Also, we need to work with staff educators that become more reflectors. So we need educators to work on their own reflective practice and be confident educators in order to create meaningful change. Overall, the project has built in listening tools with teachers. It's reduced levels of what might be called sarcasm or bias towards certain challenging students. It's increased the building of connections with teacher and student. As I've said earlier, it's enhanced personal reflection with our educators, but also with our students when we speak to them. We've also improved communication with parents, because parents are key, and what is happening behind the student at home perhaps can be an indicator to how that student is then behaving in the classroom or the workshop. So we've enhanced our engagement with parents. And also we've used a more mindful language when approaching and discussing with students, in particular from the initial advice and guidance. We're working also on the application process, for example, and we've brought in a lot more work around that inclusion thread, which runs throughout all our educational establishments, but also safeguarding, and this all links into this triangulated fostering of positive learning behaviours. It is something, I think, in terms of a project that affects all. We are all aware of the student cohorts that come through our establishments, and we are here to support, listen and guide. So if anybody is interested in the project, please contact myself directly, and you will find more information about the Fostering Positive Learning Behaviours and Trauma-Informed Practice on the one-pager guide that will be on the CTEC platform. Thank you very much.